us, and it's like,
Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to push that.
alert! No, hey, we're good. Let's get this in there. Let's get all this B-roll.
I had a sensitive finger on that one. Okay, anybody want to say any last words before we get started? Okay, I'll bring us in just a moment. Hey, what's up, Blazer fans? Welcome to We Have a Take, the What podcast. I am Tara Bowen Biggs, joined as always by my friend Rose Harding. Hello, Rose.
Hi, Tara. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great and I'm ready to talk basketball. And we brought in a guest today. I'm so happy to have Keith Feltner-Smith joining us today. Y'all might know him from the TrailCasters. Y'all might know him from hanging out with the third bench up in section 317 in the Moda Center. We got some important things to talk to with you about, Keith, today. So we're really glad that we can have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Not nearly as glad as I am to be here. Believe me, I love you guys. Thank you both for bringing me in here. And it's been way too long since we had Trailcasters episodes at all. It's been a solid 10 months since one came out, and even probably a year more than that since we had like regular episodes. We're coming back. I promise we're coming back. I keep saying it. We're coming back. But thank you for helping me warm up and get back into this and get that appetite going.
Thought you would be up for it. And I have to say, judging by the length of your replies in the Discord, which people should get into, you have some very long replies, and I think you type them out on your phone. And
That's
I
right.
am just, I'm like, oh my, Keith, this is amazing. You just typed a book about, Tumani Kamara's threes, like with your fingers on your phone. So I was like, we need to get Keith on. I think he's got some things on his mind that he wants to share.
I've got some calluses built up. Hey, to be fair, I do some voice dictation too, and then I go back and like change it up. I am. It's really. It just makes me realize how bad the AI for voice dictation is. Like, if the AI is so scary with everything right now, and some of the stuff, the Shade and Sharp mac and cheese video, we'll get to that, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm shocked at how bad the voice dictation can be on the phones. I got to do way too much editing. The thumbs are still getting sore.
Well, as somebody whose name in captions gets translated to terrible and bigs, yes, I agree. But it has gotten much better over the years. But that's really smart. I hadn't even thought about doing the voice to get that. That would explain maybe how you get so many. I'm like, wow, I just can't type that much with my phone.
You just got to edit because yeah, again, there's way too many missed capital letters, weird punctuation things, weird odd words thrown in of like, why would it think that I said banana when out of Blazers? Yeah.
Well, I think we should start off with a check-in because it has been a heck of a week, just basketball wise. I'm not even talking like life. I'm just saying the last time Rose and I recorded, it was Sunday afternoon, and the Blazers went out and got beat by 45 that very
Oh my
evening.
God.
We were like, everything, like things are just trending in the right direction. We can see improvement. Everything's not, perfect, but it feels like we're going in the right direction. And then 2 days later, they go out and probably, I'm guessing, because they've been listening to the podcast, they were like, we need to
Of
win that
course.
in-season tournament. And so they went out and won their first in-season tournament game, followed by another win against a team that I was convinced was going to come back out with attitude. So yeah, how is everybody feeling about the basketball that we've been going? And now we've had like 3 days off. So yeah, what's
Yeah, now the giant
basketball
break to
temperature for everybody?
well, what a
Okay,
weird
so
time to get like the break in there too. Sorry, go ahead.
no, so first of all, Tara, when I we recorded in the morning before that loss, I like watched that game and I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have to put out this podcast now where we talked about good losses. And I was like, it
Oh.
felt like the opposite of when we did the manifesting episode. We were like, what are we manifesting for the Blazers this year? And then suddenly, all of a sudden, those things that we were already manifesting were happening. And I was like, this is great. It feels super relevant. It's great. We're like right on message. And then this was like the opposite. I was like, oh, this is not a good loss. And then we're gonna put out an episode now where we're gonna talk about how the Blazers are losing well. Yikes. But so we're not losing. Okay, so that wasn't a good loss, and we're not losing well, but now we're winning well, question mark.
Weird games. That the Tuesday Wednesday was crazy. Abby and I, we were supposed to come out to the Sunday game against what was that OKC? Yeah, it's already out of
Memphis.
my head. Oh, Memphis. I'm sorry. Yeah, the OKC one that happened like the previous Friday. But we had tickets to come out on Sunday, and Abby ended up she started doing roller derby. and she had her first bout on Sunday. So of course I'm going to go to that, and we, sent the tickets off to friends, and I hope everyone had a great time, despite that insane loss. And yeah, I'm sorry, Rose, that's crazy timing, but the episode was still awesome. And to then I was there Tuesday. Which, like you said, Tara, it's like, okay, back-to-back series. You think we could have a chance in one of these. Let's see how it goes in the first one. And hooray, that was awesome. Now, I would definitely expect Wednesday to be a brutal beatdown in the other direction. And to have the Donovan Clingan show and the Shaden Sharp show, 33 points on 23 shots. And then what did Clingan have? Like 17, 13, and 8 blocks. I was texting my family at one point, guys, if you're not watching Blazers, Clingan has 5 blocks, six, but make that 7 blocks. It just kept going like that quick. And yeah, now have what, 3 or 4 days, 3.5 days to digest this and roll it around, and to try not to let your Blazer fandom get over the edge and be like, Blazers are winning the championship, just because you had these two back-to-back games. And it's against the Wolves too, man. Like, I wanted to celebrate about how we did this against a great team, back-to-back wins in such a scenario where you wouldn't expect 2 wins. And instead, all the coverage I hear is, oh man, Wolves are really in trouble. Like, do they have problems? Like, guys, give the Blazers some credit on the national stage here, but or I don't know, keep us under the radar until we can surprise them all with Kling Kong.
I don't know, man. I thought the first thing I thought was like, oh, are the Timberwolves in trouble? Because like,
Oh,
regardless of how good we are or aren't, like they went to the Western Conference Finals last year and they
yeah.
traded away and they made a controversial trade for a cornerstone of their franchise. And I'm like, oh, this is where a team decides whether or not it's like the panic starts to simmer. And then I watched them. I think it was like I think it must have been their very next game. They like struggled to beat the Jazz.
Oh
And the
boy.
Jazz are also like a tier below that Western Conference like contender. And I was like, ooh. So I'm watching the Wolves now with like a little bit of like mess interest. I'm like, is this going to be a car accident?
Yeah,
Going
I
to be
can't
like a
look away.
maniac?
I would say though that they have a superstar, and it was fun to watch our team handle a superstar pretty well. And so yeah, I guess the thing that I take away from this week is I have learned to moderate, to try not to get too high and too low. So I really wasn't that mad. I also didn't watch the game on against the Grizzlies because I was doing something else, so I didn't have to like be witness to it. So that probably helped me not freak out about it.
Right, right.
And then trying
Hooray,
to
roller
not
derby.
get too high on the wins because we know it's a long season and they, have more talent. They do have a lot of talented players on Minnesota. It just kind of seems like they haven't like gelled yet with all of their big changes. But the thing that was really fun to me is that the Blazers had this success behind the young guys. Because I thought they were going to win the in-season tournament by playing all their vets and just going for it and then pulling back for the other games and playing the young guys. But it was really, for the most part, the younger players who made this happen. And it was like, this is cool. And just like in
Yeah.
terms of like fun basketball to watch, when Anthony, DeAndre, and Jeremy are all in, I find that to be kind of boring because it's just kind of the same stuff we've watched all the time. So having Donovan Clingan in the lineup, seeing Shaden Sharp in there, of course, watching Tumani just absolutely drape himself all over either Julius Randle or Anthony Edwards was just you could tell that Anthony Edwards just hates it when he has to play against Tumani. And that's what I want the Blazers to be, is just the team that everybody else goes, oh, I don't want to play the Blazers tonight.
Can I ask if you guys see this comparison with this team too? Something I was thinking about after these games, and maybe just because the Blazers looked so good against Minnesota both games, kind of a similar prototype structure for what we're going for here, right? Like Anthony Edwards to Shaden Sharp, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Clingan, kind of the big defensive guy in there that just shuts things down. Uh, somewhat of a defensive styling run. I feel like there was Mike Conley even. I've made comparisons of Scoot when people started to worry about his ceiling and be like, hey, if he's a Mike Conley, we're in good shape. And there you have the like I just feel like there's a very similar structure as far as their offensive end and what their weapons are to what we should be looking for maybe this team could look like in a little while. Am I crazy? Don't see it? That's okay. That's okay. I'll keep the receipts. I'll stick around for it.
I mean, if you're talking about like an exceptionally like awesome shooting guard and a good center, like that's I mean,
Well, I mean,
you could
Shaden.
say, I mean, you could say that about OKC. You could say that about a lot of teams, I guess
I
is
mean,
what
okay,
I'm
but
saying.
But not all those centers are defense first, the way that Rudy Gobert and Klingon both seem to be. Not the shooting guard Anthony Edwards is not just a shooter, but he's the explosive, athletic to the rim guy. The same way that Shaden seems to have 3 level scoring, and the fact that their point guard in a lot of teams around the league, the point guard is this kind of highlight factory center, and the Steph Curry model, and that's not what this team is going to be going for. Scoot is not going to be our top scorer. He's the facilitator like Mike Conley would be. I'm not saying it's 100% there. I just think there's a general kind of like prototype structure comp that you could look for, saying like, hey, you see, it does work here, where this team doesn't have their guards doing all the 3-point shooting. I mean, they do take a lot of threes overall, but they have a defensive mindset. They counter punch, and I don't know. I don't think all the teams are doing it that way, and I think it could happen.
I think you're
Maybe we
talking
do
about what a
better.
good team does. And yes, in terms of that's something for our team to aspire to.
Yes, I'll take it. Okay, thank you for
You could,
calibrating that in.
I'll say you could probably convince me on a different day, but today I probably don't feel particularly convinced. But like, ask me again in a week.
I do like what you were saying though, Tara, seeing the team win with the future. Like not just especially early in the season and the in-season tournament. I'm never going to call it the Emiratis or whatever else. But the in-season tournament for the NBA, to have us not have to win on the vets, to not lean on the vets and just kind of like getting all those dubs, to have such good basketball from the guys who are going to be here long term was really cool.
What did
To
you say
now
you're not going to call it? I'm sorry, you're not going to call it the what?
it's the Emirates Cup, right? I was just intentionally saying Emirates wrong. I called it
Oh,
Emiratis.
I couldn't get there. Sorry.
No, you're good. No worries, no worries. I think David Jacoby, he works over at the Ringer, and he used to have like Jalen and Jacoby, and he has some. I enjoy his stylings as far as kind of the goofy little wordplay, like kind of the tongue in cheek, intentional stuff. And I heard him say Emiratis, so I think I'm gonna probably pick that one up this season.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't get there because I just couldn't think of the word the way it looks versus the way that I
Right,
know that it
right.
sounds.
And
And I
she
was
had
like,
to spend a whole episode correcting me because I kept saying it was the United Arab Emirates Cup. And
Yeah,
she was like,
yeah.
not quite.
But again,
I
we call it. I'd almost rather call it anything incorrect than the right name. Like I don't need to feed. We're not getting paid by this sponsor, so we don't need to say the correct name. So yeah, I call it the Emiratis Cup, call it the IST, the in-season tournament, call it the NBA Cup. Whatever works.
But more importantly, Tara, it means that we are one game closer to you getting an NBA Cup tattoo.
Mhm.
Because I heard
Oh
you say it on this
yes.
podcast that if we win,
Oh,
you're
totally.
getting that tattoo.
Absolutely. I, yeah, I might even do it just if they go to Vegas. I mean, I actually listened to two Portland-based podcasts today, the one that Casey Holdall does and the one that Mike Richmond does, and they were both seriously discussing traveling to Vegas to watch the Blazers play in the in-season tournament cup. So I think it's hilarious. I love it. I love that we have something that we can all aspire for and we can cheer the team on for. And, I'll go back to what Sage said about Donovan Clingan because I was very worried about Donovan Clingan coming into this situation, somebody who's just coming off 2 national championships. And I was like, oh God, how are they going to keep him engaged? And then Sage said, well, what if he's exactly what they need? I was like, oh.
Hmm.
I think that right now, after one game, I saw that after one game, we were in second in our group behind Houston because Houston had a bigger point differential by like a few points. But no
I think
more
Houston's going to
opportunities to
be the
win.
team to beat because
Honestly, Houston, have you like they look good. I, I hate to be so complimentary of Houston, but I don't think of them as like the
the
villains of
old
the
Houston.
NBA anymore. And like
Yeah.
they're pretty fun.
Yeah, it's not the James Harden Rockets anymore. It's seen easing down there, and some of I can't think of all the young dudes, but there's a lot of young talent, man. I'm curious how much of that sticks around with them long term. But you know what? Yeah, they're not a bad team. Who else is in our group? It's us, Houston, San Antonio.
Kings.
Oh, and
Kings.
Sacramento. Okay,
Yeah.
is it just the four? Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
actually that's who I saw Minnesota. I didn't see Minnesota struggle to beat the Jazz. I saw them struggle to beat the Kings, and they had to take them to overtime. And the Kings were without DeMar DeRozan, and that was like when De'Aaron Fox had like that 60-point banger, and then they ended up losing in overtime to the
If
Wolves.
that
But
didn't give you flashbacks to Damian Lillard scoring 61 against Atlanta, I
oh
don't
my
know
God, it
what
totally
would.
did. And did you watch the game last night? De'Aaron Fox went off again for like 40, 45 or something. It was he was without Sabonis, he was without DeRozan, Malik Monk is out. Like it was just like it was just De'Aaron Fox and a hope and a dream, and like the like Damian Lillard way of refusing to take a scheduling loss just on the chin.
Hmm.
Sabas is
Really
on my
sucked.
fantasy team, so I was kind of mad about that game last night. Got to be honest. He let me down. Shout outs to BMAC. Uh, how's your team? Oh no, Rose, are you not in the you're not doing the league with us this year?
No, no. So Rob and I, high off of our WNBA
Yes,
fantasy
that's right.
championship, we decided to take a hiatus. We had stuff going on this fall, and it was going to be hard for us to like really commit to a team this year. And honestly, like I'll say, like the sleeper app requires me to do so much more management than the ESPN app.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I work in a field that's super busy during the fall and the winter. Like it's very hard for me to like imagine doing that all the time. And Rob wasn't gonna have the time either. So we were like, you know what? We'll take hiatus. We'll come back, either regroup in for summer for WNBA fantasy or come back in the next fall.
Oh, you better regroup for the summer because I need to come back there and challenge you again. Like your runner up, right? You guys,
That's
it was us
right.
in the finals, so I'm coming back for it. You better be ready.
That's right. But I'll say Rob and I in WNBA fantasy undefeated the entire way.
That's
Never
right.
took a single loss all the way because Asia Wilson decided to go nuclear.
Yeah, absolutely awesome.
They should have a mini version. They should have an NBA Cup fantasy league for those of us who can't make commitments or do that much admin
I
like
like that.
me.
Isn't
That
that what
wouldn't
they
be
call? Isn't that
impossible.
basically what they do with like DraftKings? Isn't that what those people like? It's like daily
I
fantasy or
don't, there's
something.
so many gambling things. I don't know how any of them work, and I don't know how anybody has the time to figure it out. I don't understand them. Okay, well, we have brought one of the reasons we brought Keith on today is because he has strong opinions and thoughts about nicknames. And after looking at this team and with the rise of DB Hooper, we realized that we have some pretty elite, I think, some pretty elite nicknames among Blazer players. So we thought we would kind of discuss them and maybe rank the ones and figure out which ones we like the best. But I think a good way to start is just like figuring out who actually has them and what. Yeah, so I kind of like I just alphabetized them, and in doing this, I realized that we have two guys on our team with the initials DA, which kind of like amps up our need to come up with nicknames because the typical default nickname is just initials. So I was listening to like I think it was on Locked On. I was listening and they kept talking about DA and I'm like, which DA are you talking
Which
about?
DA?
So I think we need to straighten this out. So Denny Avdia, I've
DA
heard
number one.
Turbo.
So I read about where that nickname came from. It came from like like from his time on the Wizards, and it
Is he
was
saying he
really.
just played fast or something, or he just played it head first or something like that,
I
or?
mean, to be fair, all of the wizards played that way. So it didn't distinguish him from the other wizards. It was like they were all running in transition at all times. That's what it felt like. It was like him and Jordan Poole and Corey Kispert, and all they were doing was running really fast to the other hoop so that the other team couldn't set up a defense.
So it was like one
Um,
Turbo among many.
yes. I will say that he was better at finishing than a lot of those other guys that I just named. So there was that. But I think that I read that it was also has something to do with him playing video games.
Oh.
Oh.
I
Or are
mean,
we
no,
talking maybe old school like NBA Jam like turbo highlight shoes kind of thing? Like is he into like 2K or something? I gotta find out more about this
Yeah.
one.
I don't know. I have to go back and look. Um, but anyway, I'll just say that's not that nickname to me is very hard to stick because it feels very generic.
It
mhm.
also comes from another team. It's either from, generic or from not Blazers. And I feel like, something that we do particularly as a fan base is connect to these players, not just for what they're doing on the court, but getting all the character and the narratives going. Something you guys bring so much with the What Pod. And I don't know, I've had a hard time so far coming up with one for Denny. If he could hit more of his deep shots, you could go with some sort of F3 or something like this to sneak in the three in there like you do. But when we picked him up this summer, I've had some fun in the Discord, like taking songs and trying to like blazerfy the songs a little bit. I was thinking Inagata Davida, like we got Danny of D, baby, like, but that's not quite
Ooh.
nickname status either.
So we could just call him Iron Butterfly.
Oh, See, there we go. Get into some old. Wait, like there's some he's got a classic rock feel, right? Maybe it's the goatee he comes in rocking. Uh, there's something there. I just don't know what the nickname is yet. Iron
Why
Butterfly.
does he get to wear the teeny tiny headband?
The Euro band, the Euro headband,
I
right?
feel like it's like that's a Euro thing.
Do they have two op I thought like it was just like you wear the NBA headband or you don't. Are there other people out
Oh,
there who are wearing the teeny tiny headband?
that's interesting because yeah, I do think there was some protocols about the NBA regulated branded stuff, and how they didn't even want people wearing the NBA headbands upside down with the little logo upside down. You had to have it right side up for the cameras. That one certainly doesn't have a logo on there. I wonder if that doesn't qualify as a headband. It's more of like a hair tie in a way because he doesn't have long enough hair to tie back, but it like just keeps it out, it keeps his bangs out of his face or something. Interesting.
I mean, he does have kind of that weird length of hair, whereas if your hair gets sweaty at that length, it will be in your eyes.
Completely, yeah.
Once it like loses its volume and it falls down filled with sweat, it'll be like covering your eyes. And so like I think that's also kind of why like the European like soccer players like rock that headband so that like
Yeah.
when those pieces start falling out of their ponytail, because they're not allowed to stop play. And so in soccer, part of it is like you're not allowed to stop play. Like you can't adjust anything really.
Right.
Like the clock just keeps rolling, and so like any kind of interruption of play is just hurts your team. But he they
And
like
this is
the regulation came because guys were wearing the ninja headband. Remember when
Well,
everyone
they
right.
have,
they were playing
I
the
mean, they've
ninja head?
always had uniform conformity regulations. And so, yeah, then they started wearing the ninja one, like you said. And so they're like, no, you have to wear this one. But
Yeah,
now, but maybe they do consider it a hair tie, something different.
yeah. I
Yeah,
bet
just
it's not
like
a headband.
because it's not like to absorb sweat as much as it's to hold the hair back, right? So I bet there's
Mhm.
just some sort. You could make that argument as a Denny probably.
It's also not branded.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I don't like
interesting.
it.
Don't watch
Maybe
soccer then.
maybe we start calling him headband. I mean, just again, getting back to the nicknames, we got to think of something here, and it's either classic rock or headband. I feel like is the roots of where we can go from here
I
for
mean,
Denny.
Turbo, I can see. I like him off the bench actually, because I
Ah,
really think he is a big like push and like energy guy. That that could kind of, so I don't really dislike Turbo. It just hasn't really stuck. And I've heard Lamar and Kevin use it before, and it's okay. I don't, super dislike it, but I'm totally open to other ones, someday when he does something. Um, or like the Iron Butterfly.
Iron
I'm
Butterfly. I kind of
curious.
like that.
I'm curious for any like Jewish Blazer fans out there whether there's like something in Yiddish that we can adopt here
Ah,
because he's Israeli and a lot of like I think about how like Mark Mason makes a point to introduce
yeah.
guys in their native tongues when they are in the starting lineup, and maybe there's a nickname out there that suits him that is Yiddish, and I don't know, maybe I'll ask my dad.
That's a good question. I like this. Is your dad Jewish?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure
I didn't
is.
realize that. I had no idea.
Sure is, yeah. A Jewish UConn alum for which he bring is brought up a lot on this podcast because my dad is an obnoxious UConn fan.
I've heard the Yukon references. I must have just missed just flew over my head. My bad.
Grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah, he grew up
Can
in
we
Brooklyn
have
and
him?
then
We need to have him on the podcast, Rose.
okay, I'll ask.
We totally need to have your dad on the podcast.
He'll be here for Thanksgiving, so I'll
Oh,
talk to him about it.
bring me back
Yeah.
for
Um,
this one. I want to meet Rose's dad. This sounds great,
oh,
like
but
a great time.
the thing
We
is
talk
though,
about him
is
a lot.
like he can't hear me anymore.
We just give him a topic and he can just go.
Yeah.
Just go. Oh, he can do that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
want to
he does
hear.
love he does love to talk about basketball, and like that's like he's part of the reason why I am a basketball fan, and so I'm sure that I could make that happen. But oh, I don't know how it would sound.
I think it'll be great.
Sounds like
Okay.
podcast gold is what it
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah. We gotta get Rose's dad. Okay. Well, moving on to the other DA, DeAndre Ayton. Of
DA
course,
squared.
he has a controversial, somewhat nickname, which I don't get why. I don't know why anybody wouldn't love Dominating. It's a fantastic nickname.
Yeah.
I
It's
love the nickname.
I think it's because of the origins, because people aren't sure whether he gave it to him himself, and there is this like feeling of like, can you nickname yourself?
Why
I
not?
mean, but we have
You know
other
your name
players.
the longest, longer than
Yeah.
anybody in your entire life. You're the one who's most likely to come up with something.
So here's where I like my like personal biases come in because the whole time that Myers Leonard was here trying to nickname himself, I was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to say it out loud because you're on my team and I'm not going to embarrass somebody on my own team. But as soon as he left, I'm like, that's not his nickname. He gave that to him himself. I'm sorry. He is not the Hammer. He didn't come. Miami, when he went to Miami, I was like, just so you know, we did not give him that. He gave it to himself. But I will say, I like dominating, and he gave it to himself before he arrived here, so somehow I have like less of a problem with that.
Yeah,
I also think it's a better nickname.
it's yeah, it's definitely not a bad nickname. I didn't I guess I wasn't really sure if he'd given it to himself or it was just that it came from Phoenix, similar to the Turbo thing with Denny. Uh, I've been, I'm sure you guys have heard me bat around the little fun nickname I've had for DeAndre after the snow and ice escapades that we had last year. I think Iceman is a great NBA nickname that we could bring back. We haven't had an Iceman in the league in a minute, and it's Portland centric. It's a way to kind of I love DeAndre for the record too. It's a way to poke fun about him not making it to the arena. It's not meant to be anything critical. I think someone in our Discord thought I was being a little too harsh at one point about it. But yeah, it's all meant to just, we laugh we laugh at ourselves, right? Being able to be self-deprecating is part of maybe being in the Northwest sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. Any votes for Iceman? And I'm not trying to step away from dominating either.
Well, I personally love Iceman, but the problem with it is pretty big in that it was George Gervin's. And so it's like on the record as like a really
Yeah.
famous person's. And that's like the only thing because I think it's wonderful because of the duality of ice, because of the ice incident, and also because how much he loves diamonds. And he's always
Oh,
wearing
great
those
one.
beautiful diamonds. I would love to call him Iceman, but it's like, with nicknames, the hard thing is it's like you can't really have two of the same name.
And
Yeah,
some nicknames are like sound generic, but they get owned, and so you're like, we have to retire that one. Nobody else could be that.
retired like a jersey. That's fair too. I can totally get that. That honestly, that's been part of my issue with calling LaMelo Mello. Is just Mello to me has his own value, and like you can't just he's barely out of the league. You can't just bring that back for someone else. But I don't know what else you'd go with for LaMelo other than Mello. It's hard to move past that.
Yeah, and that goes to like that's what he was called his entire life.
Right,
And so,
right.
and so yeah, it's hard, but I actually tried to get to the bottom of where Dominatin came from because
We talked about
uh
this on the podcast like a year or two ago.
yeah, we did a little bit. And so I wanted to double check because in one thing that I read it said that Devin Booker gave him the name, but that was written in 2001, and in 2000 DeAndre Ayton had it tattooed on his back. So I'm
Wait,
pretty
it was
sure
written in 2001.
in
No, that's
2000
The
he got the
article?
tattoo, and then in
in
2000
2000. Tara,
yeah,
this is
I'm sorry,
2024.
2020. Thank you. In 2020
It's like, who's giving babies
had a
tattoos?
zero at the end of it. Yes. Was he born in
2-year-old like
2000? Yeah, he was
dominate.
like 2 years old and he got a tattoo. Okay, let me say that again. In 2021, Devin Booker made a reference with a lot, which some people said that Devin Booker gave him the nickname. But then if you look back, you will see in 2020, he actually got it tattooed on his back. So hard to hard to argue that he was actually given that. And then I actually found, because I used a couple different Google, I used Google, but then I also used the thing where you track trends, to see when Dominating started first
Oh,
appeared.
dang.
And I did find a reference in 2019 where he actually got a trademark for it. Or I
Really?
found a document that was an application for a trademark that was from him saying, I attest that this is me. Because if you're getting a trademark on somebody's name, then the person whose name it is has to like
Like sign
attest
off
to it
or
or something like that. So,
interesting.
but that was 2019. So it came from before that. I just think if your name was DeAndre Ayton and you're 7 feet tall and you play defense, you've probably been called dominating for a
That's fair.
while.
Yeah. Still doesn't mean he gave it to himself either, but that it's been around longer than Devin Booker thing. I gotta say, I'm all about doing our own research, but Tara, my gosh, that sounds like an impressive level. Like you're doing next level, just some digging there. I wouldn't have even thought about going into finding the actual records of essentially like a copyright. That's
I got
impressive.
lucky. I got lucky that it showed up.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, I can
I
go
love
down a
it.
pretty deep Google hole. Okay, so dominating slash Iceman. I wish we could use Iceman. I just don't feel like
I get it.
So,
I get
I
it.
mean, that's just me though. Somebody else could argue.
It's one of those where I think people can have many nicknames, and like I'm sure we'll talk about later down this list too. Sometimes there can be a broad umbrella nickname, and then there can be the nicknames that the fans give you, and you can't get rid of it because I'm gonna keep calling him Penny.
Okay, so the next on my list is Delano Banton, who obviously has a new nickname that's amazing.
That's right. And also, shout out to uh
Kaylee,
Haley.
yeah,
Kaylee Basketball
basketball,
Basketball
yeah,
who I think first used that nickname because of DB Cooper,
yeah.
Yeah, so we're
which is
talking about
also
DB Hooper.
yeah,
DB Hooper,
DB Cooper, and DB Cooper has like is a Pacific Northwest urban legend.
yes,
For those of you who don't know, but we won't get into that, but like please Google it. It's a fun little read.
yes.
Um, and yeah, it just feels like right for the region. I agree with you, Keith, that it's like sometimes like fan bases give players their own nicknames that really reflect their either like the way they play it with that franchise or regionality. But I also think that it's completely valid for nicknames to follow players from team to team because like it's not like you're gonna stop calling Chris Paul CP3 when he goes somewhere else, you
Of
know? Like
course, yeah.
even if he didn't get the number three, which I think at this point most teams would just find a way to give it to him, but like even if he wasn't, they would still call him that.
I mean, again, like it just the reference I made earlier to Carmelo, he played many places and was called Mello by many fans before coming here. There was no reason to come up with some other nickname for him. He's still Mello to us. It's not like we couldn't call him that. It's yeah, they totally travel.
Yeah. So Delano Banton, Tara, what was his other nickname?
Double Don.
That's right, because we talked about this on when we did our deep dive on Delano. And that's because he's good for a double double, right?
That's because he's good for
Nice.
20.
Oh, right.
He's good for yeah. And it's so true.
Yeah.
It's, oh, I'm just
In a quarter, even
absolutely
20 and a quarter, he'll just go off, man.
yeah. I know we frequently discuss in the group chat what jerseys we want to buy. And my philosophy is always, would I be sad if somebody left and I didn't have their jersey? And I think
Yes.
Dabadon, DB Hooper might be that one for me.
Here's
So
DB
the
that's
Hooper's just
question.
so good. It's actually in Basketball Reference.
DB
Don.
Hooper?
Both of them are. DB Hooper's
They
already in
really?
Basketball Reference. And they're notoriously bad at like actually giving real nicknames.
Well,
Right, and
obviously
sometimes
they
they have
listen to the
nicknames
pod.
Yeah,
that aren't even no one's
that,
ever used.
that no one's ever heard of.
Obviously, whoever's running basketball references listening to the What Pod because that's just the quick access. And I mean, let's keep it going.
We're
If they're
following
paying attention to,
basketball.
yes.
My question is, and I am happy to give basketball credit as long as we need it, but like how long are we going to have to say that every single time we talk about Deep Cooper? Not because I don't want to take away like the incredible thought that it came in to get, but it's like it adds like if I had all the times I had to add as coined by basketball, that's like 5 minutes over a year that I have to add that.
Maybe
Also,
we should spread it out. Do like one every 5 mentions or something like a little hat tip to basketball or something like that.
well, also I think that like having to qualify it with came up with it makes it like less of like a household name, and eventually the whole goal of that nickname is for it to just be that person. It's
That's
like
a good
it's
point.
like who cares who gave it to him? His mother gave it to him. Who cares? Like it's him. It's who he is. It's who
So
he is to us.
is part of mentioning Kaylee basketball with DB Hooper is part of that because we still want that kind of ownership. Like, hey, this is one of us. This came from here. This came from us. Maybe it's kind of yeah, it's keeping on that small stage. But you're right that eventually the goal should be that people just call him DB Hooper. Just go with it. Or Dubber Dawn, honestly. I really like that one too. I hadn't until you explain the double double or even just the dub, the 20. Like it's so fitting now after seeing him just go off. It was 20 and a quarter, right? The other night when he I think that was a Blazer record or so he set some
In a
sort of record
quarter.
in one of the quarters, yeah.
It reminded me of the Jake Layman game. Do you remember the Jake Layman
It
game where
totally reminded me of that.
Jake Layman game where he like scored like I forget it was like 24 points in like one quarter, and then all of a sudden it was like so early in the season he like led everybody for like first quarter scoring or something.
Gets in the record books and is now it will now always be a Blazers legend.
That's right.
Okay, we should move on.
Okay.
Yes, we had a whole team to get through.
I know, I know. Okay, Tamani Kamara, Too Many Buckets is the one that I found.
Too many nicknames. There's so many variations you could do here. Too many buckets, too many blocks. The Kamara Man. I go with Monty, like kind of a mana from heaven. You know, you got Monty from heaven when he's hitting 3-point shots. His name is so flexible, so adaptable to good nicknames.
What's your favorite one for him?
Honestly, I love too many buckets. It's like we're talking again, like that broad umbrella one that everyone's going to grab onto. Too many buckets is easy, but I really like the Kamara man because he have you seen? We've talked about Shaden's smile and some of the guys that really kind of like get the camera. Have you seen when Tumani like catches the camera? He's got like a side smile and he's got a dimple like nothing else, man.
Oh,
He's got. I mean, it's like yeah, he's just got a real cute little smile. I'm gonna say it, and I love when I see it, it gives you a little good energy. So I kind of think the Kamara Man is a good one for him. Or again, it's that kind of maybe more the nickname that I want to keep close because it feels like more of the local level versus the national level for him.
I mean, you could even make it just cameraman.
Yeah, yeah,
As a photographer, you being a photographer, then you have one more, closer bond.
that would be a
Yeah.
good. I want to see if we can get that on a shirt like him with a little kind of doing a little snap frame or something like
And
that.
there's Tumania, which is
To me, oh,
another
of course,
basketball
Too
thing.
many. Yeah, that's right. Can I tell you the nickname that I have been using in my own home? That is not, I've not shared outside of my home. So this is my first like outside my family sharing of this.
exclusive.
Yeah, Tumani Chimera.
Chimera. Oh, okay. Like a
Because
three-headed monster kind of thing.
well, yeah, and it's like this mythological creature that's composed of lots of different
Yes.
animals, and like he's so versatile.
Yes.
Like
Oh my God, I love it.
so Tumani Chimera.
Tumani Chimera. Dude, that's fantastic. Thank you, Rose. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Legit.
That's a
That's
great
that's a
one.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Because
can make that
I feel
happen.
like he's totally one of those players who's so versatile. Like if I wouldn't think that in like if it didn't suit him, but he's like so many different areas of talent. He's defensive, he's offensive, he's aggressive. He's like, I don't know, like there's a lot to like about him that like you could only fit together in one mythological creature of
I love
composed
it.
of lots of different animals that are good at things.
I love this. Again, like I'm already seeing like some sort of shirt graphic where you've got like, the three-headed chimera thing, like, the kind of the lion's head in the middle. Maybe he's got one arm that's like a snake and the other arm's on fire. Like you get the whole thing. Oh, dude, I love this.
Yeah, Demonic
That's a good
Chimera.
one. Can we use it outside of this podcast in your house, Rose?
Yeah, do it. Do it. Please do. This is not just for me. This is just something that I said in my own home to somebody, to my 7-year-old who doesn't care or know what a chimera is.
And here you're getting all the art, all the appreciation from some art history majors. So we're in on this.
I love it. That's a great one. Okay, to move on to Donovan Clingan, of course, came with a great name, Kling
I don't
Kong.
I don't know if we can improve upon this if I'm being honest.
You don't like Kling Kong?
No, I said I don't think we can improve upon this. Like
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if we should really be talking about trying to rename this person because it just feels
It,
right.
it's so fitting. He's so gigantic, and the swatting the bucket the other night. Like after he commits a foul, and then the ball gets deflected and is up in the air, and then he swats it again after the whistle just to get it out of the way to make sure no one's kind of. He's so good. He's so much fun, and it's just so fitting. He absolutely looks like that giant gorilla on top of the Empire State Building, just swatting planes out of the sky. Man, I love it.
Yeah, it's good. I don't even want to like throw another one out there for him. I haven't thought of one. I'm like, he's just Donovan Clingan, aka Kling Kong, and now we move on.
hmm
Yep,
And
I'm
he,
good
he
with it.
came with it. He already had merch in college, easy enough to turn it black and red and just move on.
Oh yeah.
Um, okay, now we're okay. There's two more that I'll mention, and then we can continue to move. Another really, 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 really good one is the Time Lord for Robert Williams. I mean, it's a whole story in itself.
Right.
How he got it, what it means, how he embraced it, all the things that come with it. It's as good as he is. That's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it again, it's just so fitting. The story fits so well. He came here where it's like you're saying with Klingon, both these guys come here where their nickname is kind of already part of their brand. Like it's not just a nickname that for kind of players or fans to joke around with. It's like it's part of the narrative of their character and all this. Can I just say too, for how little we've gotten to see Time Lord play as a Blazer so far, I have absolutely loved like his effect here, not just on the court the last couple of games, seeing him hit his first career three, but hearing him talk about it, the interview, the again, I know it's a dumb cliche to be like, oh, he's so well spoken or something like that, but he gets on with interviews for Casey and he's talking about how friends of his saw the first career three and like you've been in the league 7 years. We're not giving you any credit for that. Or like he's so open and again self-deprecating to a way that's not he's not trying to be funny. He's not trying to be like, oh, I'm dumb or I'm bad at this. But I man, I wish we could keep him around for a while. I really enjoy him here and I would love to see him play more.
No notes. I mean, well, like in terms of like, I've just heard media say that they just really like to talk to him
Yeah,
because he's really open and forthright about what's going on,
yeah. The
and
elephants in the room. That was his line.
they've talked about him, his potential leadership. And speaking of elephants in the room, I was, everyone, we were all trying to decide what the elephant was in the room after they had their team meeting on Monday after their big loss. What's the elephant in the room? Because I think Tumani also broke it up or brought it up. I feel like the elephant in the room is that since Damien left, they haven't had a team meeting. Like nobody has
I
said,
mean,
hey, we need to get together and talk about this. And I get the idea and the impression that Robert Williams may have been behind that. And so it kind of makes me wonder, like, oh, do they really want to trade him when, like, he might be the person who could, at least for 1 year, provide a little bit of leadership to this team that, needs somebody to rally everybody?
that
I
is
don't know.
very
That's
much
just a thought
needed.
I
Yeah.
had.
I
That's
mean,
very
that's
interesting.
that's not a bad theory, especially considering like, normally like a lot leaders call team meetings and not everybody's just allowed to call a team meeting necessarily. So it's like suddenly they're in a new system of government. There's no parliamentary procedure. They're like, who calls a meeting? Do I call a meeting? Can I call a meeting? Does the coach call a meeting? And so maybe they've never, I mean, and maybe Ant's never like, oh yeah, I thought I could call a meeting. So, like I don't hate that theory. My
And here,
can I tell you what my theory about the elephant in the room is though? And I learned this the other day watching. Did you guys see the video of Jabari Walker doing his like walkthrough of his home?
Yes, a day in
Okay.
the life
yeah,
with
yeah.
Jabari.
Okay, this is like mostly a joke. I'm telling you right now that this is mostly a joke that I'm
Okay.
here to tell. His nickname is Tank.
That's right.
I
I'm
hadn't caught
sorry.
that. What?
Is this why Jabari Walker isn't getting minutes? Is because his nickname is Tank?
Oh no.
Wait, expand on that.
I,
I'm just saying that like right now we're tanking and maybe he's
Oh, I
considered a
hadn't even
bad
thought about that.
omen.
like they're
His
tied
name
him to
is
the
Tank.
oh, that's
Yeah, I hadn't even.
I hadn't connected that either until you said it. I don't know how I missed that. And come on, there's so many other good nicknames for Jabari Blocker. There's so many things you could do with that name. Like
I
I love Jabari Blocker. I had never thought of that, Rose. I just thought like, yeah, he was like, a big, strong kid, and that's what they've always called him as he was growing up. And I
right.
never even associated with the tanking situation going
the
on here in
elephant
Portland.
my the elephant in the room is that we're tanking and the Jabari Walker is a bad omen because as soon as he got here we were tanking because his nickname is Tank.
Yikes, dude. Oh man, that's got to change. Like that is definitely we're talking about the nicknames that it's okay for them to kind of bring over here and we keep going with, but I do not want to roll with that one. Not only do I want the tank to be over, but I just Jabari deserves better. Come on.
Yeah.
Jabari Blocker, is that when you said?
Jabari blocker.
Love that one.
I mean, there's also like the Johnny Walker being a popular alcohol, and they do the whole black label, blue label, red label. You go with like Jabari Walker block label. Although I think Jabari blocker is a little more on the nose for it, but you can get some good graphic out of that, like have him walking on the court and block label underneath.
They should call him Jabari Rebounds because that's what he gets are the rebounds. Jabari Blocker sounds so good though.
Right?
It does. Yeah, it really does. But you're right. Rebounds are his thing. Or like Jabari box out.
Border? Box out. Oh,
Jabari
okay.
box out. It's still better than Tank.
It
At
is
least,
better than Tank.
at least in
I
this place and time.
So
Who's our
maybe the elephant in the room was that they had to have a team meeting and they didn't know whose job it was to call it so that they could rename Jabari Walker so we
yeah?
could get the tank off our back.
Time Lord gets them all together. He's like, guys, look, I know I haven't played. I know no one wants to hear my opinion about what's going on the court, but we need to talk about nicknames, and he pulled them all in there.
Also, can we talk about one of the things that I thought about when it was clear to us that Robert Williams was like an important part of that conversation. It reminded me of how times have massively changed because do you remember when Festus Ezeli tried to have a come to Jesus
Ah,
moment with the team
that's what I'm
and
talking about.
everybody
Yep.
was like, who the F are you? Sit
Yeah.
down, son.
I think something
Absolutely.
similar happened with GB2. There's some sort of similar sentiment where he was talking up and people are like, "Hey, you're not playing. Like, keep your mouth a little more quiet there." And yeah, here comes Time Lord because he just I think there is possibly he might just come with a little bit of gravitas, a little bit of kind of seniority in the or respect, I think, and you can tell the way he talks. Again, just bringing it back around here, you can tell from the way he discusses the game, discusses the locker room, how open he is, like you said, Tara, how he doesn't seem like he's hiding stuff. He openly talks about, yeah, there's didn't just say elephant, but he says elephants, whether that was on purpose or a slip of the tongue, like Mike Richmond discussed on Lock On. Is he's an easy to talk to dude, and I bet it helps with. They certainly could use someone like that on the team right now.
I mean, the conditions were obviously very different too. Like the team that Festus Ezeli was trying to intervene with had a leader and it had a second leader and it
Yeah.
had some leaders in waiting. And Festus Ezeli was the guy in the suit,
And
like
who are you,
sitting
bro?
behind the bench. Like he was very far out of turn compared to now the team which doesn't have like an obvious leader.
Well,
Just a completely different time.
and to go from a team, at least from a fan perspective, I don't, the whole team has basically turned over. So it's like, I don't know what they're thinking. But from a fan perspective, like we knew who the leader was when Damian was here. But there were other times in the past, like Damian stepped up when LaMarcus left. LaMarcus took over when Brandon Roy and Greg Oden left because there was nobody else. And he was like, okay, I guess it has to be me. He didn't
Yeah.
love it, but he at least recognized it and did it. And then, he left and it was natural for Damian because that's like his whole identity. And then Damian left and there was nobody. Like nobody said, oh, okay, I guess maybe it's not really natural. I mean, maybe this is, again, this is just all, I don't know really what happened, but it looked like from the outside that nobody stepped up and said, okay, I guess it's going to me. I'm going to arrange the trip. I'm going to get us together and I'm going to make sure that everybody knows that I'm the one who's doing it. So everybody knows like who the leader of this team is right now. It was just kind of like the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, like somebody still had to step up into the role when it was vacated, and nobody like really did that on this team. And to be fair, like when Damian left, it was a little bit of a surprise. So like
Right.
Jeremy Grant had signed that had like agreed to that contract, and then they found out that Damian Lillard didn't want to be here anymore. And he didn't necessarily know that he was going to be like maybe that guy, but also maybe it was Ant. It was like it was very much up in the air about like how this was supposed to land, and maybe they just didn't talk about it because, Jeremy and Anthony are both chill, kind of quiet guys, and uh yeah, there was just no one to like have that conversation. I don't know, but
I do think it's gonna be Scoot eventually. I think the vibe and the kind of attitude he has, I think he can very much be that guy who pulls the team in, says, "Hey, I see this from the outside. Let's talk and all that." But it's again, he might have maybe some of that Azili syndrome type thing where he's no one probably is trying to hear his voice right now. The guy that has less experience and the guy who maybe, like you've said, Rose, looks a little rushed when he comes in. He's still slowing down, he's still getting it together. But I'm a massive Scoot fan. I'm holding out pretty high hope still, so maybe I'm a little optimistic. We'll see.
What do we do about Scoot in terms of the name? Like his name Scoot is his nickname. And
yeah.
his real first name is Sterling, which is a gorgeous name. Like I kind of want to call him Sterling. What do we do
Do
for
you
him for a nickname?
do you guys are you familiar with are you too familiar with the Scott Sterling YouTube videos back in the day? There's a whole
No.
comedy bit. Go look up Scott Sterling on YouTube if you get a chance. But it was just a little like comedy parody bit of this goalie in soccer, Scott Sterling, that would come in as a backup goalie for a team, and then he would just get pelted by the ball. Like everything where he's not even trying to block, he's trying to like crawl out of the way, and the ball smacks him in the face. And Scott Sterling would just be at the call on all it's goofy. It's a fun thing from like a past era of YouTube comedy. But yeah, it's I kind of want to start yelling Scoot Sterling, like seeing if we can get something in there going for it. And he kind of comes in with that same kind of crashing speed, just head first into everything. So, but Scoot is definitely another one of these nicknames that has kind of traveled with him, kind of come with the guy, and it just fits. It's just kind
Mhm.
of who he is.
I like Scoot Sterling better than Scoot because I think it sounds like they're booing him and it makes me
Yeah.
sad every time I hear it. And I know that he knows that they're saying Scoot, but sometimes I want to go down there and be like, they're just saying Scoot. So I wish we could come up with something different. So Scoot Sterling could be it could be
I mean,
Scoot
I
Sterling.
I think
I
that there is some players where like that sound like you can't boo them, and in some ways that's like kind of nice because nobody would know that you were booing them. It reminds me of
Boo
um
earns.
a nickname that has floated around sports sometimes is like Moose.
Moose. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, same thing when you hear Moose. Like you'd never ever like you couldn't boo that person because they'd be completely immune to that sound. And I'm like, but maybe that's the secret sauce is that
yeah.
nobody can ever boo him because it doesn't land. So
I
I'm
just
totally fine with Scoop, and I'm fine with people yelling Scoop.
I just think of the Simpsons episode where everybody was booing Mr. Burns, and Mr. Burns says, "What are they saying?" And uh, Smithers says, "They're saying boo earns, boo earns." So I think that every time they say "scoot,"
Maybe we can make it more into like a scoot 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 scoot. I guess some sort of like rah rah thing going on it.
could be something.
I do think third bench, something that I want us to get towards more. I want to, I think we can all get in this direction. Would be leading some fun, more like MLS type cheers. A lot
Mhm.
of the fun with soccer games, MLS and NWSL both, are how much you get into some real, not just scoot, but full on lyrics and singing chants. They're passing around sheets in the stands. I think we could have some fun with some of that, and maybe Scoot would be one of the ones that can benefit from it. So it's not just a booing.
I like that. I like that ambition. And it's something for us to aim for. Okay, so there's a bunch of other players that we haven't talked about. So we should probably go through them pretty quickly. And I want to know if you all have any ideas for Jeremy Grant. Is he just too chill to have a nickname?
I mean, I've heard people call him JG, but like that's
The
not
the
really a
default.
nickname. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like the default, like if you don't enter anything in the field, the initials pop up, or initials, like
Hmm.
maybe initials and a number kind of thing, like CP3. For me, Jeremy Grant, like he's so chill, so he doesn't need like a goofy nickname. Kind of maybe more of a sincere and maybe cheesy one for me, the prodigal son. He's the Portland-born kid who left and has come back, and he's come back in a time when the team needed someone like him here. Even as we're rebuilding this roster, we have depth at guards, we have depth on the wings, we have depth at center. We don't have depth at power forward specifically. And so he's kind of been a really good fit at a time we needed it. And, again, maybe it's a little too serious, but
Well, the idea of a return of a somebody who's come back home, except that he just hasn't been a prodigal. He hasn't been like a getting into trouble.
sure.
But if we
Yeah.
could do some kind of play on like somebody who returns home.
And maybe his trouble was when he went out to other teams trying to be that number one option, right? He went to Denver and then he got traded to Detroit because he wanted to have a bigger role. Realized that's not his thing. Has been humbled and is coming back as the. Yeah, you're right. It's not 1-to-1, but it's all I could come up with for him.
I also will remind you all that when we did the deep dive into Jeremy Grant, I did Jeremy Grant, and the thing about Jeremy Grant that's interesting is that that's not his first name.
Oh, right.
They're all H names. So like they
Yeah.
all have H names. So his real first name is Houston.
Oh. Do we
See
want to
that?
call
I don't know if there's anything to do with that, but I'm just saying that like they all of the Grant boys go by their middle name, which are all J names, but actually they all have first H names.
so
that
Hugh Grant? What's a good Hugh Grant character name that we
Ooh,
could
oh, here we go.
riff
Get
on?
get get third level on this.
So I just looked it up. So he's Houston, Jirai is Harvey, Jarian is Holden, and Jalen is Harrison.
Hmm.
I mean,
So they are HJ.
They're all
Hu-
HJ.
Houston is definitely the toughest one to work in there as a non-Houston based team. Not wanting to yell. What about I mean, so what's the like you've heard like Portland again, it might be kind of more of a soccer thing when they kind of long syllable. Grantland, I don't know. That's maybe stretching too much too. Just
Oh
being
yeah, remember when like Marcus can be,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but Jeremy Grant doesn't work for
It
that.
doesn't
It's
work.
so hard. He's got a hard. He's just. Oh, I have a name for him: the Enigma,
Oh.
because we can't get anything to work.
You're gonna have the Enigma and the Chimera.
I'm writing it down. Writing it down.
Or pencil it in.
I'm gonna put Houston in parentheses so we remember that.
He's
Okay.
also, I'll say, if we wanted to like work, we don't have to talk about this anymore, but like if you want to think on this, one of the other things that I think about with Jeremy Grant is how like strong of an anime fan he is. And this is something that like sticks with me all the time about him because I feel a lot of anime influence on his style. And not just when he has like the direct reference where he has like the calcifer bag, like he had that one time, which was awesome. But
Do you know what his favorite animes are? Trying
I
to think of like
don't.
a character.
I don't. I mean, I think that he posts a lot of pictures from Howl's Moving Castle, and Calcifer is a character in Howl's Moving Castle, and so I would hazard
Good
a
bet.
guess that that's one of his more favorite ones. Howl.
Howl. I was just thinking Howl
There you
because it
go.
starts with an H.
H.
It does. It starts with an H. Anyway, just a thought.
Okay.
Put it out there. Listeners, if you have a great nickname for Jeremy Grant that you feel like really encapsulates him, look, let us know.
I love it. Okay, let's move on to Chris Murray.
Chris Murray, I can't. Maybe it's just the Chappelle Show era thing for me, but whenever I hear his name, it's not even a nickname. It's just how I say it. It's Chris Murray. Like just the character thing from a throwback. It has nothing to do with basketball. It has nothing to do with him, unfortunately. But I don't know. I feel like I need to see more from him. We're seeing a little more now. He's playing good, but yeah, I don't know. Where do you lean? Where do you go with him for a nickname?
I just don't know anything about him still.
I think you're
And
right. I think we need more time.
I just like I feel like I would like to know more about who he is as a player. And right now we just like, all I know about him is that his name is Christopher James Murray. You could call him KJ, but that's already taken in basketball.
I'm a KJ.
So
I do like what they do in Sacramento with his brother. The whenever Keegan does well, the announcer goes Keegan, and the audience Murray, like a shout and response for it. Like again, it's a little different from what you see in a lot of basketball stuff, and I think the engagement there might work specifically with Sacramento and the fact that Keegan Murray is playing really well. But so, I don't know. I just don't know what we can do for Chris unless he like suddenly became that kind of guy.
I'll just go ahead and say it though. Also, he has the less interesting name to do something with.
Yeah,
Chris is like
yeah,
the like, what do you do with Chris?
yeah. It's not quite as balanced.
Yeah, it's hard to chant with when you have a single syllable first name.
I
That
do
might as
think
well just be Bob or Jim. It's like so generic.
I feel like you could find some of those. What's that like the R&B song? That I'm thinking of, Keith Murray was one of the guys. Like you could find some sort of song to work in when he makes a bucket, some little sound clip they play, but that's still
Who is
not.
Keith Murray?
Was that not someone?
Keith
Uh,
Sweat?
no, no. I believe me, I get Keith Sweat references all the time. Was it Chris Murray that I'm thinking of in R&B? Uh, Rapper's Delight, right? Never mind. I gotta go. I haven't listened in a while. I'm probably mixing names up. Too many nicknames jumbling through the brain.
Yeah, Chris is a hard one. The one thing I can say about Chris is I suspect he's growing his hair out. I've noticed it's slightly longer, and I wonder if he's doing that so that he looks a little bit different from Keegan.
I saw that and I wondered if he also just didn't have time to get a haircut.
Well, yes, but it's still a little bit longer. The tiny and he's still like his line is really straight still, but it's just a little tiny bit longer on top. So just
I
Okay.
get,
Chris Murray
I'm
haircut watch is all I'm
I'm
saying.
not against him finding a way to differentiate himself. Like I nothing against twins doing the twin thing. It's
Mhm.
it's entertaining and it is a twin thing that if you're not a twin, we probably don't understand. But I'm not against the idea of maybe having like, yeah, if he doesn't have the name that stands out, we need you to do something, bro. And they need to do something that gives us some nickname fodder here.
I do love how he's been playing lately, though. I
Yeah.
love it when he takes advantage of that. He gets the minutes and he uses them, and I always appreciate that about a player. Somebody who's not getting very many minutes right now, Wop Reese. Obviously Wop is a short form of doo-wop. And then on the broadcast the other night, Lamar and Kevin were saying they call him Big Daddy. which I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could latch onto that if it's a thing that the whole team is like, oh yeah,
And if he's
Reith is
into
Big
it,
Daddy. If that's a thing, like, okay, sure, we could roll with it. But yeah, this does seem a little more like one of those names for me because he's a 3-point specialist. It's hard to get away from Threeth,
yeah.
Duop Threeth. Uh, but yeah, that's the Big Daddy. I
Do
might need to know more of the background on that before I feel comfortable calling that
Duop three sounds like Mike Tyson trying to say Duop.
one. Uh,
Um, I'll say this. I don't understand where Big Daddy came from. I feel like it just came from Tom. And I don't know if that's a nickname that I can get behind. It doesn't really say anything about him. And it's not how
Unless
I feel about him.
unless he's the
right.
daddy, and maybe it's because he's old for compared to some of
He's
the
not
other
even
players on
also,
the team.
but he's still not the oldest.
No,
So
Yeah.
like
I don't know where it came from. Total
I just
mystery.
it feels like they're like we need to get a nickname for Wap Breathe, so we're gonna
Because he's
make this one
tall, we're gonna
happen.
call him Big Daddy. Maybe we should start tweeting or blue skying at them and say, "Okay, tell us where you got this, um,
Are
where
are
this
are we
nickname came from."
are we not
Yeah,
going to call the
citation
blues?
please.
Are we not going to call the blue sky stuff skeets now? Is that what I heard was that?
I don't
No.
know. I think
Yeah.
we'll
I
see what
mean,
happens. I'm super interested in how language evolves. So this is all to me is very fascinating. And I
Yes,
do
very
not
much so.
know what it's gonna happen. What's gonna happen. Um Ryan Rupert, kind of another one we need. I don't think he came with the
Roops.
nickname Roops.
Roops.
I mean Roops works. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Rip's not a bad one. It is
Mm-mm.
another one of these where I feel like sometimes when you hear it in the arena when he actually does something, people it's kind of like, wait, are they booing? Oh no, no, Roops. There's yeah, the syllable that you choose to elongate is funny how much that can affect a nickname in the arena. Uh, I mean, this is definitely one that I think needs to be workshopped a bit more with repair,
Mhm.
but it's really hard for me to get away from the Nick Batum comparisons. And not only because of his personal connection and how he's talked about the background and going to the camp, but also just coming here, the style, the glue guy kind of style, the length he has, and honestly, with our guy Wheels passing recently and the whole Batum Shakalaka thing, it makes me that much more, just a little bit more, want to find some way to kind of tie in some sort of I mean, I wish he had like, the Rue Shakalaka is like it's too much of a stretch, but something like that. Like I want to find some way to make the name work in a way that can be a homage or a reference towards our both sides of the history there.
I thought you were gonna say, and so you were gonna announce that you had one. So
Ah, I wish. Oh,
we'll
I'm
wait for
sorry.
you to come out.
Yeah, all the build up and then. So what about you?
No, I like that comparison. Okay, Shaden Sharp. Anybody have ideas for Shaden Sharp?
I mean, I sure tried to go with like some sharp cheddar kind of thing at first and all this. That was even before his mac and cheese video answer came out. I was like sharp cheddar. How can we make this work? Like get the cheese going. But but my gosh, that video when they were asking him the food comparisons, right? Like, do you want mac and cheese or broccoli? And mac
Mhm.
and cheese for mac and cheese
Yep.
for it to just keep going, man. That's stuck. That's
I mean,
as
that's what I
sticky as
call
it.
him. I call him mac and cheese or my sweet angel right from heaven, which seems a little long and maybe not always appropriate. Because maybe he is an angel, but maybe he's not. I don't know. But he just looks like an angel the way he flies through the air. But I just understand that that's not inappropriate. Um, Probably not an appropriate nickname. But I love mac and cheese, and I every time he does something fun, I share it, post it. Mac and cheese, mac and cheese, mac and cheese, mac and cheese. Because he just really seems to love mac and cheese and it makes him happy. And when he's playing like that, he just looks happy.
The other oh sorry, Rose, go ahead. I'm not trying to cut you off.
Oh no, no. I was just gonna say that I think that mac and cheese is gonna stick for me just because like it's like you've been so consistent on it. It's one of those things that even if I didn't quite like latch onto it immediately through repetition, it made its way into my brain.
Is that
Excellent.
one on Basketball Reference yet? That one needs to be because that is definitely it feels like it's locked into me, the mac and cheese. Like once you get people on Reddit doing the crazy AI video, you guys both saw this, right?
I did. Did you
Uh
see it, Rose?
Uh, which one?
Someone made an AI video of Shaden Sharp, and it is absolutely wild. It's like a cologne commercial, basically. Like think of those kind of very like a montage of weird clips that fade in and out of each other, and some
Oh,
weird whispery voices in the background going mac and cheese. And it is next level. Like someone took some real fun having an AI brain come up with this. And yeah, it was
I
I think that one's locked in.
I don't know this I don't know this video, but when you said it was an AI generated video, I'm like, maybe I did see one and I didn't know it was AI generated.
I'm gonna
It's
see if I can find this, see if I
it's
saved this
really
somewhere.
funny. Yeah, because at first you're like, what's going on? Sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Rose.
No, see, related to the mac and cheese thing, I did see in like a kind of like montage of like those future videos for this season when they did like the beginning of the season media day. There's one very similar with Denny Avdia and onions.
Oh, really?
Yes. He like they're apparently I think it's maybe they're talking about pizza toppings or like this or that and it's like this or that and his whole thing is like you could see him just responding onions.
Hmm.
So maybe there's something you can do with onions. I don't know.
Onions. Turbo onion cutter. I don't know. I kind of here, hold on, hold on. Just I'm not sure if this will play on here, but just to give you a taste, Rose,
Okay, what? Just send it to me. Just send
I
it
can
to
do
me.
that.
You don't have to hold it in front of you. You can just send it to my phone
He's
like
like
a civilized person.
he's in like a
Low
bowl
tech.
of cheese sauce.
Yeah, I just wanted to give the 5 second visual of how ridiculous it looks of him like in an ocean of cheddar cheese going up. Yeah.
There's I know some people call him Baby Kobe. And then I've also there's a maple something that people some people there's some I
Maple
can't
Jordan.
Maple
Michael
Jordan.
Jordan,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. The other
Maple
one,
Jordan.
the
Wouldn't that
other
be amazing?
the other one that is kind of stuck for us, just the variation. Uh, when Shaden was first coming in, and everyone's making comps for him, and people are talking about, okay, what kind of player, like star player, could he eventually ascend into? Tracy McGrady was kind of the comparison, and so shout out to Tim on Trailcasters last year. He came up with T Mac and cheese
Oh,
as kind of the.
Oh, that's good.
So if Shaden gets there, if Shaden takes those T Mac type steps, I feel like we're gonna try and amp that one up a little bit.
that
So
is fun.
again in my home, I this is again just me talking to my 7-year old watching basketball with her. I call it the Shay Show
Oh, okay.
because it's like always a show when he gets it going, you know? The Shay Show.
You can always count on him doing at least one cool thing.
Yes, that's right. Scoring high on the dunk, whatever metrics.
Yeah, the
Yes,
dunk
the dunk
score.
score.
Right.
Yes, which we talked about last week, and he actually had the top two of the night. I can't remember if it was the first game or the second game. Okay, we got to get through this list. Anthony Simons, your favorite, Keith.
Yes, very much so.
You want to make your
Uh,
case?
happy to. I'm always happy to make my case for let's see, right, hanging right back there. I was gonna put it on today, but I felt like if I
Oh,
put on the jersey and then tried to turn around and show it off on the camera, it'd be less effective than just
Oh, you
having it
had it
hanging.
made.
Oh, it wasn't even me. No, that
Oh,
someone got that for me. That's how much the joke has been going for a number of years now.
it's
it
been
says Penny
going.
on the back for people who
It
can't see it.
Yes.
Yes, because Anthony Simons, his just so all the fans know as I'm making my case here, Anthony Simons, the record, let the record show his uh legitimate godfather would be Anthony Hardaway, the NBA player from back in the day that everyone knows who played for Orlando as Penny Hardaway. That is Anthony Simons' godfather with his parents. It's like a family friend and all of them, and they named Anthony Simons after Anthony Hardaway. So reason number one, the nickname transfers. Anthony, the reason we call Roberts Bob's and all that kind of thing. Anthony, I think you might as well just call him Penny. The other side to me, I understand that Anthony's mom calls him Ant. That is the nickname he's grown up with. It's a family nickname, and nothing's wrong with it. It's easy as far as that family kind of nickname. When you get to the NBA, we have had Anthony Edwards in interviews say, "Hey, I'm Ant. That guy's Amph. He wouldn't be Ant. He doesn't have A-N-T in his name." Fair enough, especially when you're saying this as the higher level player. Anthony Edwards has hit the stardom sooner. He gets dibs, you know what I mean? He gets to call his nickname. And like we've talked about earlier, I don't want two Mellows in the league at the same time. If you're going to have LaMelo be Mellow, he can be Mellow after Carmelo's gone, but you can't have two Mellows, you can't have two Ants, especially when Anthony has such an easy access towards a NBA legitimate nickname that isn't taken in Penny. Uh, Third reason, maybe kind of the goofiest one for me, also something we've talked about in here with Scoot and Roops and all this. I don't like yelling "ant." It sounds to me like you're just screaming or crying or whining in the arena. I think it's if Penny hits a bucket, it's much more fun to go Penny for three. You know, it rolls off the tongue a lot better. It's easier to kind of extend those vowel sounds like we've talked about. I think there's lots of reasons for me that Penny fits. And more than anything, I guess if there could be a fourth reason, it would be that the jersey behind me there.
That you already have the jersey.
Yeah, once I've committed to the bit that someone went and got me a jersey and I've now worn that to games and everything, it's locked in. It's his name for me.
As someone who can appreciate being locked into a bit, I get it.
Thank you.
Because
I knew you would understand,
I'll
Tara.
grab a bit and hang on for dear life.
It's the
But
fun of it,
Tara,
man.
we were recently relieved of a bit this week because Jabari Walker has a City jersey on the Rip City
Oh,
clothing
it
website.
happened.
He has
Did
a
it
City
really?
Edition jersey page. Yep.
Yep. And
I hadn't
what and
heard.
they're making wreath jerseys this season now too. I don't have to select them from a drop-down menu and have it custom made in the arena. But let the record show that I did do that, and I do have one that was made in the arena during a game because they wouldn't actually sell one to me on the website.
Nice one, nice one. Boy, congratulations on Jabari Walker getting the jersey. I mean, I don't see how we don't credit what for that. But for the bit. You guys have talked about this, you've kept it going. You've had the campaign running for so long. I know we're all lighthearted making jokes and the rest, but come on, there's no way that that hasn't had, in my opinion, a bit of a influence on the scale, pushing down on the scale. And so congratulations to you guys. Well done, well run campaign.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll add that to our resume.
Yes.
I mean, okay, going back to Anthony Simons, I mean, I guess my only thing is like maybe I mean, maybe it would have made more sense 7 years ago or 6 years ago when he came to the league to call him Little Penny. Because
Ah,
Little Penny
okay,
was
okay.
his own star
That's
at
a
the
great
time.
That's a great reference too. I kind of like that. Yeah, yeah. If it was a little or like time, if it was a little closer together, so people could refer to like, oh, Penny Hardaway. Now you have little Penny.
Now you have Little Penny.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. I kind of like that.
Although
Um,
people would think that he was his son probably then.
who didn't remember
Not
Little Penny?
Godson. Yeah.
Yeah, like his like yeah. Um, can I just say something that's unpopular here about Anthony Simons?
Sure.
He's not a nickname player.
He
He's not a
doesn't seem like
nickname
a
player.
nickname guy.
No, he doesn't seem like a nickname guy. That seems like one of those guys where like you like try to give him a nickname and he's like, I prefer it if you call me Anthony.
Yeah.
I can okay. I mean, it's kind of like I feel like there's kind of a Kawhi thing, right? Where he's just that kind of quieter dude. Where like people talked about the claw
Mm.
for a while, right? And I know that he branded that him or his team or whatever branded that. But yeah, no one calls him Claw. You can call him Kawhi, right?
And also, like, can you ever imagine him muttering that name like about himself? Absolutely not. And I can't imagine Anthony ever actually like acknowledging that he has a nickname that he likes.
That's kind of funny. He's
Um, there's situations that Anthony gets himself into that are, I think, or for instance, Antferno. When
oh yeah.
he is
Yeah.
hitting those threes, like he has like situational nicknames, I think, but not just like a general nickname.
It's like a catchphrase. If it's like when Dame Time, you know what I mean? It was
There you
like
go.
it's like that's a nickname, but it's
It's
like it's
it's
yeah.
so awkward when other fan bases try to make that his nickname. Oh, hey, is Dame Time getting traded? Like, oh, you're using it all wrong.
It's not a person. No, stop it. It's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah,
person. Stop it. It's a time. Forget it. Just move on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I gotta
Inferno is a time. It's not a nickname to me.
Mhm.
I would do want to say that last year I used I took the Dante's Inferno picture that I found somewhere, put Penny's head smack in the middle, put some little fire emojis on his eyes, and my fantasy team was Penny's Inferno. So I locked that nickname in there as well. And like you said, it's situational. I'm not gonna go around calling him Inferno. I'm gonna stick with the Penny campaign, even long I think after he's gone. I think I'll always refer to him as Penny. And I'm
Oh,
gonna
we
get
know.
all the mileage.
You
I
have
get
the
it.
shirt and everything.
Gonna get all the mileage on that jersey that I can at this point. But but hey, I mean Penny's Inferno. If he comes around and scores 60 for us, I'll be yelling that up from the 300 level, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of Anthony, I hope that he gets better soon with whatever illness or
Yeah.
injury has him out because that was weird and scary. Um
I always get really scared when like you can't nobody can actually identify what happened to a player and then they're just out and they're in the locker room like something horrible has
Yeah.
happened. Now, hopefully it was
Well,
just illness related, but like
it just it was so sudden. Like he there wasn't an impact that was very visible even when you go back and look at it. And he's very suddenly was like, hey, get me out kind of thing. I was worried that it was like a punctured lung, or someone talked about like maybe like a rib issue or something like that, something that would be causing like physical breathing problems. Chauncey then almost immediately was talking about how it wasn't a big deal and nothing major was going on, which again, like wasn't saying illness, was acting like it was responding to something that just happened. So then for after the fact, for it now to be called an illness, not an injury at all, it's strange to me.
Hmm. It is. And I don't think we're going to get much clarity. And
No.
that's fine. Like, let him have his privacy on that. But yeah, I don't know that we're going to know. But yeah, when somebody has non-contact and then they just know they need to go out, because these guys will fight through whatever they
Yeah.
can. And for somebody to be like, no, I need out. Um, uh, okay. We have one more. Matisse. Is he a nickname guy? He feels like he maybe could be.
He's
he
another dude that you can kind of sneak in Mathreese when he's hitting his shots from outside. But yeah, it's what do you think,
people call
Rose?
him Matisse the Thief sometimes. I see
Oh,
that one. Um
Mathif Thibault is kind of nice, actually. It's another one of those like
Doesn't
Mike Tyson lines.
I think Lamar calls him the wizard, or he says that he's like a wizard.
that sounds right. It's been so long since seen him play. I haven't heard any nicknames around him for a while because he's just been out. Um,
If he shoots really well, you can double down, go Mathreese three ball.
That's a mouthful.
Keith's gonna be giving out like royal nicknames where there's like 15 layers of a name, and we're
Yes.
gonna have to like print them on pieces of paper so everybody remembers them all.
Like a
Gonna have like
scroll.
a yeah, like the origins of where the Hugh Jeremy Grant nickname comes from or something like that. I like the Hugh Grant. I think we should run with that one. Honestly, I want to go find some old Hugh Grant movies, figure out like what fits with for Jeremy.
What's the one in that takes place in London with Julia Roberts?
Notting Hill.
Notting Hill. We can call him Noddington Howl to like put them
Oh,
together.
there you go. This is good.
Notting Howl.
Let's try it.
I am not past yelling that from the third bench area next game for sure. You'll be there today, right, Tara? Are
I'll
you
be there
going?
today, but I will forget all these names by the time I get there.
I'm gonna text you, Notting Howell.
Nodding Hill. I'll explain it to Terry.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, you guys, we just went through the entire team except for the two-way guys, and I think we're just gonna have to wait on the two-way guys because there's
that's
a
fair.
lot to process. What's your favorite? Okay, everybody, what's your favorite one of all of them? If you could only like do one. Rose, what's yours?
My favorite nickname
Yeah.
out of all of these.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that my favorite, like, this is like not interesting or sexy at all, but like I think that King Kong is my favorite nickname
Hmm.
because it feels the most fitting. It comes with like a great image that suits him and like it automatically gives him an identity to a for a player that we're just getting to know.
Hmm. Yeah.
King Kong, that's my favorite.
How about you, Keith?
I mean, like it's again, I have to have loyalty to my campaign and my brand about Penny Simons. I can't get away from that. But I gotta say too, uh,
You're gonna be so relieved when he gets traded.
And you're
look,
like, thank God I'm free.
look, I'm wearing this jersey as often as possible. I'm trying to get the mileage out of it this year because let's make sure, let's get him playing. Let's have him playing well. Let's give him that support. But I got a Scoot jersey that is a really nice jersey that I'm wearing to put on, waiting to put on more often. Uh, other than Penny though, man, like the cameraman, Kling Kong, Mac and Cheese, we got a lot of good nicknames, honestly. I think the one that I could see myself most likely be like most stoked to yell from the mountaintop, just T Mac and Cheese. Like I can see the day when we're really up there and doing it. Like that's the name that is going to be like got us there, and yeah.
I have a procedural question about mac and cheese, Tara.
Yes.
Is it cheese with an S or is it cheese with a Z?
I think I'm not sure. I think it's with a Z.
I feel like mac and cheese feels like something more of something you scream with, like if it was with a Z. I don't know
Yeah.
why. You can't hear the difference, but
No.
psychologically it has a different impact on my brain when I see the cheese with a Z.
There's definitely a right answer, and it's the Z. Like the
Okay.
Z has attitude, where the S is like especially if you're yelling like you're saying, you can't yell T Mac and Cheese. Like,
Yeah.
versus cheese, like having that you got to have that zzz on there at the end for
And
sure.
he's got a little bit of cheese to him,
Oh yeah.
He's a little
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
cheesy, and that's definitely a Z.
Acting like he doesn't want the interviews. Like you heard Brooke and Casey talking about he's coming over. Are you here for me today? Oh, good. I didn't want to do that. It's like, come on, man. We all know that you're smiling at the camera, doing little finger guns and everything. Like,
I want cheese, Cheez, no other E on the end. That's what I want to yell. I
ooh,
don't know
there we go.
why. Like
Okay,
a
I'm
cheese
writing it
it.
down.
Like a cheese it. That's what I want to
A
yell.
cheese it. Exactly. That's perfect.
Mac and
Mac and
cheese.
cheese.
And then I can go hard on that Z. I can like
Yeah.
just like punch that Z real hard.
Ugh.
Again, like I want to find some sort of like soccer inspired way to have a chant for him up in the stands, where some sort of shout chorus where layering like rolling calls of T Mac and cheese. Someone on the top, T Mac and cheese, while other people underneath, T Mac and cheese, mac and cheese, mac and cheese. Like I want my baby back,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
you gotta do
Mac
the
and cheese,
mac and
mac and
cheese,
cheese,
mac and
mac and
cheese,
cheese.
mac and cheese. Totally. Yeah, I've been hearing that in my ear the whole time too. I hear mac and cheese, mac and cheese, just like screaming it, but I also hear mac and cheese, mac and cheese, mac and cheese.
Like you need like the chorus rounds, right? We can have like
I
the
actually had to
melody
make
and then
some
the
mac and cheese the other day because I wanted it so bad after
yeah.
watching one of his games.
Dude, we've been making some comp like we get mac and cheese going, just something from Safeway in the box, and that you're adding the components to, but then we're cooking in broccoli, we're cooking in like some vegan crumbles,
You
like
healthy.
mixing the dude, it's really good though. You turn this into like a box of mac and cheese turns into like 5 servings, and it's like tasty stuff that can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I'm
Okay,
I'm I'm
so
big on food versatility.
that now my stomach is growling. But also like so I guess our big question is though, is Shaden mac and cheese, is he going to be like a utilitarian box of mac and cheese that you can do all kinds of great things with, that's always there when you need it, that you can travel, you can keep it in your garage and get it out when like all the what comes down, the apocalypse happens, you got your thing? Or is it a gourmet 5 kinds of cheese, bubbly, layered, panko on top? Like, is he going to be that kind of mac and cheese? Either one has a place.
For
You're going to go
me,
for the fancy kind.
I'm trying to find the balance. I want him reliable. I want him there all the time. I don't want any more of these seasons where he's playing 50 games. I want the mac and cheese that is there in my pantry every single day of the year, all year round. But there's some fancy there's some fancy flavors of Kraft Mac. You could get some really,
Yeah,
some nice like, toppings on there, some shredded other
the
bits like,
soft, melty kind.
yeah.
Yeah,
You can have some fun with it. So like let's go with like a gourmet box of the bulk stuff you get in the store. I want the everything Shaden.
with something fun added.
Yeah, adding in the broccoli, adding in those the crumbles and the vegan, yeah, adding in the healthy stuff that keeps you going long term because he needs to stay healthy.
Okay, well, we've taken a lot of time, which has been super fun to go through all of those. I don't think we have time today to go over what awards because we got other stuff. We still have to do our takes. We were gonna check in about early season what award, but since I mentioned that to you, Keith, I would like to know, like, I'm not gonna give you all my things, but I would like to know if you have any early season what award contenders.
I have a few, and like we were talking about, it's hard early in the season. Some of this is projecting, some of this maybe like being hopeful. Uh, for me, best accessorizer. Again, we've had conversations. If anyone in the Discord is familiar, I have some funny views on fashion, and it's not something that I'm trying to always be malicious about or a villain about. But I don't engage in it the same way. Although I love the way you guys do. And by the way, I've said you guys several times today. It's a habit I've been trying to break, and today's not the day to be so bad about it. My apologies to both of you. Uh,
I'm just so excited that you thought of it.
I
You can
think of it
just
all the
kind of say
time.
y'all.
Yeah, I've been saying y'all more, especially in typing. I'll delete you guys and go back and put y'all in there. But literally years ago, Tara, I think before I even started podcasting, I heard you talk about this, and it's something that I always think about. And because I want to be inclusive, I want to make sure everyone feels welcome and everyone's on the same page, and no one feels put out. So yeah, I'm big on dudes. We can talk about that later. But
Yeah.
you guys, I'm trying to get away from. So I apologize for saying it so much today. Best accessorizer for me, in my view, the non-fashion side of things. I want to say Scoot because he not only did he come in with an awesome jacket and it wasn't just flashy, it had meaning behind it from his family, but he's our playmaker. He's going to be our point guard. He's going to be the guy that needs to be the one who can say this goes with that, this comes together here, and this is how you make a full on-court outfit. So I'm saying Scoot for best accessorizer. I might also want to
Darn
lean.
good, Keith. Nice.
Yeah.
uh, I might also want to lean most improved Blazer going Scoot too, because he doubled his stats from beginning of the season last year to what he ended with. I know fans are being really tough on him. He's still not starting. I think once we see him starting by the end of this season, if people can avoid the small samples looking at the individual problems, and if we can toss him in the fire and give him time to learn, I think by the end of this year, he could be really good. It can't be Shaden because already know he's good. He just needs to play healthy. It can't be Donovan because he came in looking awesome. But I think Scoot could be most improved. Uh, the one other thing I want to throw in would be Blazers legend. And again, this is one that we all talked about earlier. Uh, Brian Wheeler. It's hard for me to I part of it I'm sure is just timing, but Brian Wheeler if I think is very much a very fitting definition of what I would call a Blazers legend, where it's not just about someone on the court, someone that has had meaning to someone that has had significant meaning to a lot of fans over decades of Blazer fandom, on the radio, on calls, and I'm not trying to just keep steamrolling by if either of you wants to say something, but I kind of do want to just say something real quick and kind of just get on a little bit of a soapbox about some Brian Wheeler stuff. Um, because there's been some fans on social media. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little choked up even just thinking about this. There's been some fans on social who have been kind of I get that a lot on certain social media platforms, especially toxicity is part of the game. And when things happen, people automatically get negative and people start tearing things down, and that happens. It's part of what it is. But there are people talking on social about after Brian Wheeler passed about, oh, Blazers didn't do enough for him, or oh, the team put him to the side and never helped him, this and this and that. And I need to just say categorically that is false. As someone, I've been a lifelong Blazer fan. I've heard you guys talk about Brian Wheeler on the last episode and how we've all heard him on the radio and how much that voice meant to us in the cars and in these situations where you could tune in and immediately hear you knew what the game was looking like, Rose, like you said. As soon as you heard his voice, you heard the tone, and that's how good he was at this. Um, so I knew I had that perspective on him as a fan. And then I also worked for NBC Sports for a number of years where I didn't work close with Brian, but I worked with him a couple times. And the nicest person in the world. I'm pretty sure the first time he came in, saw me in the studio and like, oh, hey, that's a new guy. He went back out in the office and I heard him ask someone, probably Chris or one of the other coworkers, who is that guy? It's Keith. He comes in like, hey, Keith, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Like he wanted to make me feel welcome right off the bat, and he was just that kind of dude. Um, I'm getting lost in the sauce here, but overall point is I see this from the fan side and from the kind of the professional, somewhat behind the curtain industry side, whatever you want to say. And anyone who thinks that the team didn't have Brian's back, try to help him as much as they could, protect him from the public eye in a lot of times when he was having demons and troubles that the public might not ever fully understand or know the details of because they don't need to. We don't need to have all of our skeletons exposed. And Brian, as wonderful of a person as he was, had personal life skeletons to deal with, and they got rough for him towards the in recent years. The team did a lot to help with that, and just because it wasn't put out there that they were helping him doesn't mean fans need to act like they weren't there at all or that they turned on him. I'm gonna catch my breath and leave it at that. But rest in peace, Brian. Great person, great friend, and all of Rip City loves you and misses you. And anyone that is caught up on the other side, just take a breath.
Great candidate for Blazer legend.
Yeah. I think that you'd be hard pressed to find a fan that didn't think that he is befitting of the title of Blazers legend.
And also, like you guys said last time, Sean's was amazing. And I am stoked as hell for Travis Demers, another fantastic person. He's such a great friend and such a passionate fan. And you can hear the game when you tune in and listen to him calling the game. I'm stoked for what we've had around here. And yeah, Brian will always be a legend. He'll always be part of Rip City.
Love it. Well, thank you for those early season award suggestions for us to keep our eyes on. And I love the comparison you made about the accessorizer with Scoot being able to fit it all together.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Had to kind of find some loopholes, but yeah. Fitting in.
I want to throw one thing out there that I think that didn't happen in the last time we did Best Accessorizer, which I think was 2 years ago, Tara. I noticed this year we started to see some belt buckles from Mr. DeAndre Ayton. And I did
Ooh.
not anticipate that we would see accessories. Like I kind of anticipated jewelry. We talked a little about shoes because Jeremy wears those controversial toe shoes, maybe bracelets, maybe hats. But this is like the
Jabbar's
first year where I was
glasses.
like, oh, belt buckles, but I now that I think about it, I think Scoot was maybe wearing some belt buckles last season.
Belt
I
buckles are
can't.
definitely a good accessory. I could see
Yeah,
that being a good one for sure.
totally. An
And
iced out belt buckle? Are you kidding me? More of that, please.
you can get big on that too. Like the same way they get with the championship rings, you can get dazzled with a belt buckle.
Yeah, and those guys who have really large frames can get a proportionately large belt buckle and it'll look right on them. Because I bet if they had like a regular size belt buckle, it would look all tiny.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I just wanted to call that out because it was something new this season. I was like, oh, tell me about everyone's belt buckles now. Oh, wait, most of you aren't wearing real pants, so you don't need a belt. Uh,
And
Thanks,
then we
Jeremy.
have, is it Donovan who's wearing the polo shirts that really needs
oh,
some help?
yes.
Oh
Oh,
boy. Yeah. There's a lot of room for improvement with him. Um,
there we go. Most improved dresser next year.
we'll go back
We're
to
gonna go
most
back to
improved
most
next year.
improved fits.
We can just
Yes.
flip-flop. Yeah. And also one of the other things that I've noticed is all of a sudden we're getting all these great pictures of bench celebrations now that we don't have bench celebrator man of the year award anymore.
I
Maybe
know, and
it's
people are
because there's
reporting
actually
on it.
what?
People are reporting on it. I see like people like tweeting or whatever we're calling it now, um, about, like guys getting really hype on the bench. And I'm like, oh, now you're reporting this to us.
The what effect? I'm telling you, everyone's listening, everyone's catching on. Like basketball references hearing it, and you guys are giving this you're turning the culture.
Here's what I'm manifesting. Like after that team meeting, they were all like at the end of it, they all gathered around together to listen to the What podcast. And
Yep.
then the media were all like trying to get in there and they were like, hold on, we have to listen to the What podcast. And then the media was like, what podcast? And so they went back into the archives and started listening to the What podcast and realized that Bench Celebrator Man could have been a thing had they been, more supportive of it or, gotten more involved with it. And so we're all working together in one direction. The elephant in the room is that we took away Bench Celebrator Man. Maybe that's what the elephant in the room was.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the elephants. And I just got to say, you just blew right by the wonderful "Who's on first" type joke. The players are listening to the What podcast. Media's out there. What are you guys doing? Hold on, we're listening to the What podcast. The What podcast? Yes, that one. The what? No, What podcast? This could be a whole new intro. I'm just saying.
Oh my God, I love that. I think we need to end on a high note and leave that, like put a pin in that because that was amazing and move on to takes.
Yes, that's right. So, Keith, you have not been on for quite some time.
Yes, that is
The end of
correct.
every episode, we ask you to share a take. It does not have to be basketball related. It can be related to pumpkin spice lattes or how the Blazers are playing or anything in between. So it is November 17th, 2024. Keith, what is your take?
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I had a take here. Let me pull this back up. I had one going for it. Dang it, I had the notes and everything, and then
This
I
is me
closed things
every
out.
episode, Keith.
I know, I remember. And hey, let me just stall for time real quick and say too, I know we ran along here, did so much more on the nicknames, and we wanted to have time to cover the awards. Trailcasters, we are going to get recording again soon, eventually, hopefully. I don't know how frequently we'll get episodes going, especially at the start. It might take us some time to really ramp back up. If you guys want more company, I love coming on here with you guys. I love discussing. Dang it, I'm saying I love coming on here with y'all. I love coming on here with you wonderful ladies and being part of the What podcast. So anytime you need someone extra, I am always down to come and be a part of it. Does anyone else have a hot take first while trying to remember this?
Okay, sorry,
You're
Keith.
good.
You take a look. Tara, do you have a take today?
Okay, yeah, I have a take. It's probably going to be controversial and unpopular, and I'll just make it really short and we don't have to discuss it for a long time. But
Okay.
after that loss in Memphis, I didn't really disagree with what the coach said. I know that seems like counterintuitive to like who I am and everything like that, but like sometimes like I don't know. I feel like it worked when the coach said out loud that, if you couldn't sleep, I don't know. It seemed like it worked. It galvanized them. And yeah, that's probably a terrible take and everybody hates it, but that's what I've been thinking. It's my truth. That's my take.
I don't think that's a terrible take, honestly. And as much as that was a galvanizing line for sure, yeah, there's definitely some truth to it. And I tried to play off that the next day when we won the game on Tuesday and then Wednesday. I was like, "Good morning. Hope everyone slept well last night."
Yeah.
And we could just make that every game. I hope someone in there, maybe Mike or Sean, Hyken or someone that's getting in there can ask the players, "How'd you sleep last night?" after each of the games, and just see if we can make this a running bit.
We might have to wait a few weeks before we do that, but I see where you're going with that.
Give us some space.
Might be a little too soon. How about you,
Uh,
Rose?
Okay, so this is my take, and I need to preface this by like issuing an apology. So I tweeted the other day on Blue Sky about how my daughter doesn't really like Tom Haberstroh.
oh.
And and I think partly it has nothing to do with him as a person. It has to do like, why is he popping up during times when I want to be watching basketball and he's talking? I can't hear the game. And so she doesn't particularly like it when Tom comes on TV. And I made it this thing because like I shared that everybody that but now when like he pops up on TV, she's like, not now, Tom, because she like wants to be watching and hearing the game. It has nothing to do with Tom. And so my take here is that like, Tom, you're fine. You're great. My 7-year-old doesn't like you just because she wants to be watching and hearing the game. And sometimes the broadcast puts you on at weird times when there's fun stuff happening during the game and she doesn't want to be like hearing you talk. So, Tom, you're great. That's my take. I didn't want to make it this whole thing that everybody hates Tom because my 7-year-old doesn't like it when Tom comes on TV. It's not about Tom. It's about sometimes he's put on to like talk about something
To be
when
filler.
we want to be watching the basketball game in our house and hearing the sounds of the game.
I just want I want what do you say, like not now Tom, like that's almost like I'm trying Jennifer, like that level of like I want not now Tom to be on t-shirts at some point for Blazer stuff. That's awesome.
I know it's an excellent bit. But I also am glad that you said that because I really like Tom Haberstroh and I think he brings a
Yeah.
lot and I like love his podcast.
Oh
And
dude, yeah.
I feel like it's like production's issue. Like they keep they like
100%.
it always
Definitely.
has to happen at this time. And it's like maybe you could be a little bit more like put it into a time where it makes sense so that poor Tom won't have 7-year-olds going, not now, Tom.
Right, like mid game, when it's mid game and there's actually action happening on TV, like my daughter is going to lose it if we're going to be listening to Tom Haberstroh and not the game. Do it during timeouts, do it
Yes.
coming back in and out after like, commercial breaks or whatever. But like mid game, it is very risky. And sometimes exciting stuff is happening and they bring him up and they make him big and they make the game small. And my child is just losing her mind.
Yeah.
Could
Maybe
not
we
agree
could
more.
get now's the time, Tom.
Now that
Trending.
there you go.
Yes, yes.
And during timeouts, we can like
Tom
post.
time.
Now,
It's
oh,
Tom
Tom time.
Tom time.
Tom time.
This
Shout
is
out
prime
to
Tom
Tom time. I
time.
love it.
Oh my gosh, that's so yeah, because now you have a good first half. We're going towards halftime. I want to know the stats. Give me some Tom time. Like this is so good. It plays right into it.
Yes.
That's I want the pregame, the halftime, and the postgame. That's what I want, the number crunching. I'm totally with you. And when the game is on, don't hit me with the big number stuff when I'm trying to see them make a big dunk. I want to see the action, not the stats at that time. Yeah, Tom time. That's
I
so
love
good.
that. We could just all be like, yeah, it's Tom time. Like, Tom, we have a question. We
Yes.
need Tom time.
Yes.
And
And
we're
also
gonna start like Tom time or something.
I want to make this very clear. There is one exception for like what I think of as typically a good time for them to like bring in stats people that I'm absolutely not interested in. And so I'm putting this out here ahead of time. The other day they brought Tom on when it was about to be a Bill Kennedy review. And I was
Oh
like,
no!
you put
Don't
Tom
you
away.
cover up that man.
No, give Bill Kennedy the full screen and just watch art happen. We don't need stats to appreciate art. I said this last week.
Uh, Rose, did you notice that he led with whether or not the challenge was successful?
Yes, I did.
He's
I
obviously
caught this
listening to the
too.
What Pod too.
Yes,
You
he
guys,
is.
y'all have influence. Y'all have pressure.
I was like, Bill Kennedy must have gotten a call from a school before when they lead with, your child is fine. Here's what happened.
Oh yeah, don't cover up Bill Kennedy. That especially in a season like this when I mean, I'm watching some of the scores recently when we had the good games, but I'm still very much a proponent of the cardboard in the lower left. Like I'm not here for scoreboard stuff, but I am fully here for the petty, the somewhat spiteful little Bill Kennedy lines that he gets up there, the raised eyebrow over that poked in the eye redness that he had going on the other night, man. That guy is awesome. He's a huge part of NBA entertainment. Okay. Uh so I was going through my notes trying to figure out what my hot take was, and I couldn't find what note I was referring to, so I was going to come up with something about just, okay, I think the Blazers will win half as many games after January as they do in 2024, even though we've won a couple more than we expected to in the beginning of the season. But then, Rose, as you were talking, I laughed and I saw myself in the camera laughing, and I saw the plaid. You see these actual plaid lettering on this shirt, and that reminded me of what my hot take was going to be for the day. This is plaid.
Yeah.
This is what plaid looks like. The definition of plaid by the Merriam-Webster dictionary is based off Scottish tartan designs where uh, parallel lines of varying sizes cross over and make a pattern. That is plaid. What is not plaid, what is not peak plaid or any version of plaid, is clusters of polka dots in somewhat of a line of a crisscrossing patterns. That is polka dots, or it is the marks that you see when you get a windshield tinted back in the day. You remember when people would tint their windshield and up in the corner you see these little tread marks? That's what that jersey is. It is not plaid. It is not any form of plaid. It will never be plaid. It's bad.
Shout it from the rooftops, Keith. Not
That is
plaid.
that is artistic bankruptcy on Nike's part. I love the jerseys we get, man. I love all the designs we get, but I think what they need to do, maybe this is the real hot take, they need to put out a city jersey one year and a statement jersey the other year, and you give these time to breathe. You give these time to have some real art in there, and for fans to attach and say, I like that font, and I like that striping, or I like the sash that they're doing there, or I like this, that, and you give it more time. You stop oversaturating the market with Nike jerseys where the font this year looks almost exactly the same as last year. That we've taken away key elements that made the Blazers jerseys Blazer jerseys, like the sash. It's gone too far, and that is not plaid.
Also, who do I have to advocate to get a Rose jersey?
Oh
We
my
have not
gosh.
had a Rose. Give us. We got the carpet at the airport before we got a Rose jersey.
The Rose City court, the Emiratis in season tournament NBA Cup court. That gray with the stencil is beautiful. That is so nice. The artwork. Who came up with that? It's not anyone at Nike. No one at Nike could have come up with that court design because it's like that you could have had anything better than the to put on the jerseys. Tie the jerseys to that. My God, that was so beautiful to look at. And then we have a jersey that is just a rehash of a weird design.
Yeah.
I love your take, and I love your idea of doing alternate years, a statement jersey one
Yeah.
year and a city edition the other year. I think that's a really good idea, and capitalism probably hates it, which is why
You
we
probably sell
have
more of each jersey, right? Like if yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I could
take
I could
comfort in the
soapbox on
fact that
this.
we can actually buy a Jabari Walker City edition jersey,
Yes,
even if it's
yes.
fake plaid, or Walk Wreath, even if it's fake plaid.
One step back, one jersey step back, two jersey names forward. I'll
Yeah.
take it. We're doing this.
Well, this has been such a fun all around the place conversation with you, Keith. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. Hey, if you need somebody to come on and join you on Trailcasters, I'm sure we would be willing to come on and do that too. Do you want to tell people like where you can be found these days? Because that we used to say that like pretty rote, and it was like, "Ah," but now it's actually like you got to pay attention.
Yeah, yeah. Now platforms have shifted. People are moving around. These things change. You can always find us at trailcasters@gmail. I still answer that email. Eventually when we get the pod going again, I want to have questions coming in on there. So use the Gmail account, use the Discord. The best place to find us is the Discord. You can always reach us on in the Discord, the many Discord channels we have about Blazers or movies or games or whatever else. I check that constantly. I and others moderate it constantly, but I every time I log on there, if there's any white font saying new dialogue in these channels, I'm gonna go read it. So you can always find me on there. You can probably find me in the What Discord as well. I've been trying to not just stay in our house, but jump around to the neighbors' houses with What and with Unbiased and a couple other Discords we have in the group now. And you, I'm not going to say find me on Twitter. The account is still there because I haven't closed it, but it's just going to be the ghost of the Trailcasters account, so I can go and find news from Sean Hike. And you can find me on Blue Sky. You can find us on there. You can even find my Blue Sky account in the Discord. So come and join the Discord, please. But mostly, thank you so much, both of you, for letting me come on with you today. I have been itching to talk about this. My thumbs are sore and tired, Tara. I've been wanting to verbalize some of this. And it's been great getting back to games and seeing everyone in person too and getting actually kind of, not just use words but hug friends and see old family and friends at games. It's been really nice. But hopping on the pod is special. I got my first tattoo this year in like 18 years, and it has made me want to get more tattoos so bad. Same thing today. Jumping on the pod with you two has made me just so much, it has lit the fire so much more about wanting to get back in, get Trailcasters going, get the podcast going again. So please let me come on here anytime you need someone to fill in. I will definitely get both of you to come on Trailcasters, either to fill in when Chris isn't there or just come and have a party, and get lots more fun stuff going. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you both.
I love that. We'll have to go get our NBA Cup tattoos together.
Yes, yeah, I'm fully in. If it happens, if they get that, I'm there for that ink, my friend. At Esoteric, right? Let's go get it done.
Sounds great. Love it. Okay, so you can find me on Blue Sky at TCB Biggs. I'm still on Threads, mostly talking about Bravo. And we'll link to the Trailcasters Discord, and then we also have a Discord. It's not quite as busy, but we love to have people jump in. And I think that covers where we are now. I realized like when I downloaded my Twitter archive, I thought that kind of meant like I'm never ever ever gonna load the Twitter page again. And like what am I gonna do if I want to like see an old tweet that somebody else did? And I realized, oh, like I don't have to be logged in and have an account to see other people's old tweets.
There you go.
So
Smart.
I don't really miss it. I get Blue Sky has been cool, and it's really great not to have like a bunch of Temu commercials trying to
Yeah.
sell me like random weird things or all the other things they're trying to sell me. Anyway, Rose, where can people find you? And would you like to please take us out of here?
Yeah, so you can find me on Blue Sky at Roselle Harding. You can find me on Instagram at Roselle Harding. You can find me in the We Have a Take Discord. And you can also find me here every week chatting with you, Tara. Um, Keith, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure. For those of you going to the game today, I hope you enjoy your $1 popcorn because I hear that's a thing and I am
Oh
dying to
yeah.
try it. Although I did hear that it's very salty, which is just the way I like it. So enjoy the game today, everybody, and go Blazers.
Go Blazers.